Okay, as I've said ad nauseum, everyone thinks when they learn how to trade, there's going to be this huge epiphany, and all of a sudden they get it. Okay, we're good to go. It doesn't work that way. It's really a million little things that make you a successful trader. Number 42,087 is, believe me, this one went in this week because I need to pay attention to this. I don't ever want to come across holier than thou. With my core trading, like I said, I think it was last week, I talked about how Linda asked me, she doesn't like anyone to see what trade she's in because it messes with her mind, because she's always used to, as she said, keeping her cards close to the vest, Linda Rasky. And I'm kind of just the opposite with my core trend trades because I have the trading service, and it's like that CLOV, and what would the world be without hypotheticals, said Mr. Wright. But hypothetically, I don't know that I could have stayed in that CLOV for those 2 weeks plus weekends, whatever it was, watching that thing go from a profit down to a loss and just sitting in there, okay? If I wasn't showing you that Q trade, I'd have been out a long time ago, okay? I'd have probably got out when that thing started drawing down and probably would have made $2,000 or $3,000 on it, thinking I'm a freaking genius, right? And then pull it up, today and see if I'd have just hung on, I'd be up $16,000, $17,000, whatever it was. But anyway, so for me, making things public, it forces me to do the trades, just like that CLOV trade, at least in the model account. I do have it in more than one account, and I do follow it pretty much the same as the model too. But on that CLOV trade, I'm forced to follow it so I can show you the trade that I took, okay? Anyway, so this one is probably just as much for me as it is for you, anybody else who wants to learn how to trade, because I do a lot of the stupid things I'm getting ready to show you. But you need to ask yourself, is the action I'm about to take moving me toward or away from my goal? If you read any of these motivational books, that's one of their underlying themes. Are you going toward your goal or away from it? Now, so again, ask yourself, are you moving toward or away from the goal right before you make that next trade, okay? And here are a few of over a million examples, and each one of these could probably be fleshed out into a million little things. It's funny, it's kind of like I was putting together tonight, and I thought right before I came back in, right after I grabbed some water a second ago before I came back to my office, it's like, shoot, I'm always trying to think, okay, what are the million little things? Think, Dave, think. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I just realized when I did this toward or away, I came up with another dozen million little things. So I think just asking yourself that in and of itself is going to help you also unearth many of these million little things. So toward, obviously, you honor your stop, okay? Away would be pulling a stop and hoping. You could maybe use a little discretion around a stop. That's fine if you have a little experience with that. But what I'm saying is just hodling something that you should have stopped out a long time ago. Resisting just this once trades, okay? That's one of our flaws as human beings, and I don't know if that's acrasia or neurology, or it's a little bit of everything. And I think it's what they call a time inconsistency or whatever. It's like I'm going to work out tomorrow, and then tomorrow, like I'm going to work out tomorrow, or it's like I'm going to eat this fatty food or bad food, whatever, sugary food, and then tomorrow I'll start diet or whatever. So a lot of times, and I'm guilty, believe me, guilty as charged, as just this once trade. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this just this once. I'm not gonna risk a whole lot, and it should be fine. So you want to make sure you resist those. And then, it all comes back to that original gauge that I used was the F-yeah trades too. Ask yourself, is this an F-yeah trade? Well, if it's an F-yeah trade, you'd feel stupid if you didn't take it. You'd be really pissed if that market took off without you, because everything was lining up, okay? All the plans were aligned for you to take that trade, and you didn't take it. You'd be mad if it took off without you. On the flip side, if it failed miserably, as I preach, and it was one of these fantastic looking trades, F-yeah trades, and it failed miserably, you're just like, who cares? Yeah, drop an F-bomb. My F-bomb's getting rusty. I'm gonna have to paint it. It's getting a little gnarly looking, so I got to be careful dropping it. Jesus, I left a mark. All right, so don't take just once trades, just this once trades. Waiting for entries. What did I just preach about earlier? And the reason I do that is because I guarantee you, 6 months from now, somebody will send me an email, and maybe not after all this preaching, but I'd be willing to bet somebody still will. And you know what? When that email comes in, I'm going to capture it and say, look, this is why I beat the dead horse. So wait for those entries, and that'll keep you out of a lot of trouble. And I do way too much intraday trading than I should, and I'll get to that in just one second. But lately, one thing that I've done, it's something I discovered a long time ago, but one thing I've forced myself to do more and more lately, because the market's been kind of choppy, especially intraday. I mean, it takes off, and it goes back down, then it comes back. You look at the daily chart, it looks a lot better than it does intraday, believe me, especially if you're watching too many zigs and zags. But instead of saying, okay, this looks good, I'm going to get in, then instead I put in a stop just above the market, and I'm shocked at how many losing trades I'm missing just because of that, how I'm avoiding putting capital into harm's way. Same thing goes with the core methodology, okay? The core methodology, you have an entry, which is fairly liberal above the market, okay, on a daily chart. And if it never triggers, it never triggers. And I get a lot of emails from people, hey, I'm in this stock you mentioned a week ago. And I'm like, it hasn't triggered yet. It's like, hey, I know, but I just thought I'd get in a little early. Try to resist doing that, unless, of course, we're in the mother of all bull markets and you are a little bit more educated, knowledgeable, experience is the word I'm looking for as a trader. And you're like, okay, I know I'm front running it, but I think it's worth front running. But you can get a little bit pregnant, so be careful and only front run if conditions are really, really conducive. And again, that's another one of those things that makes me a better trader is if I recommend a setup, I can't front run it, okay? Because I don't want to front run ahead of you. You can front run ahead of me if you want, but I'm not going to front run it just in case it doesn't trigger and 6 months from now it goes to zero. Boy, documentation. I can't say enough about this. And I know I beat the dead horse on it, but obviously document your trading. And when you're documenting your trading, also document your emotions a lot. Document stupid little things like walking into the office. Every time I walk into the office, I want to make a trade, as I've said 1,000 times. And I figured it out. There's a neurology behind that because I'm hangry before I leave the office. Okay, usually it's around breakfast or lunch, and then I'm happy when I come back. And it was Dan Irely, I think is his name. Great author. I'd encourage you to read his books. I haven't read anything from him in a while. I'm sure he's got some new books out, but trying to think of some of he does a lot of behavioral science type of books, and they're really, really, really good. But he talked about the hangry judge effect. He referenced that, and that was Israeli judges were giving far more harsher sentences in the morning than they did after lunch. And that's because the judges were hangry before lunch. Now, again, document your trading, document your life. When you're documenting your trading, you need to say, okay, if you say F, then write that in your trading journal. And why are you dropping an F bomb? And get in touch with your emotions when you're writing that trading journal. You cannot eliminate emotions. That's neurology, but you can embrace them. Okay. But document your trading and then document your life. As I say, do your morning pages every day. Without going into a lot of details, wake up and write 300 pages. That's going to unearth a lot. I always write down whether I got to bed early or late, how I slept, and so on and so forth. My wife does this alligator roll where she yanks all the covers. She also does a lot of strange behavior, like she'll tap me on the head sometimes in the middle of the night for nothing. 2 nights ago, she did that. And usually she taps me on the head because it's time for me to wake up because my alarm goes off. I have earplugs in. I'm throwing her under the bus. I know. She's not going to watch this. She talks a lot in her sleep, too. She just went on a girls' trip. And the girls were like, does Dave complain about you talking during your sleep? So, yeah, that's why he wears earplugs. And that's why I brought you girls earplugs. But anyway, so she woke me up at 3 a.m. And it was a little tough getting back to sleep. I reached over for the alarm, like, 3 a.m., are you kidding me? But anyway, document your trading, document your life, and moving away from your goal would be hiding the evidence. As I said 1,000 times, got a client really smart and really good trader when he wants to be. And but he has ups and downs. He prints money, and then he has a bad period, and he prints money and has a bad period. Sort of like all us traders, but then he kind of goes, the wheels kind of come off the bus, or he goes off the rails, whatever analogy you want to use for it. And one time I said, look, you know what you're doing. Show your wife my trading service and say, look, I'm following this guy. I'm going to follow every trade he recommends. And he himself will tell you he's not the grand poobah. There will be losses. One of the things I can guarantee, over time, okay, and again, no guarantees, but over time, we should do okay, and then we'll occasionally catch some home runs, and it's going to make it all worthwhile. But there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and I'm just going to follow this guy, but I'm going to show you every trade that I make and how I just follow this guy. And this came from after he did a lot of day trading, and I looked at his account because he made me, and I figured out that he did okay following my stuff. It wasn't a print money phase, believe me. He actually was profitable over this period of time, but the reason he lost money was because he made all his day trades. And then when I told him, he said, I know. So in another conversation, I was like, well, why don't you do everything you just said and tell your wife and have her hold you accountable? And he said, oh no, that would end the marriage. Well, I'm throwing him under the bus, but guess what? I'm probably, a lot of things, it's like, she'll never know. Believe me. Letting the market come to you. I threw this one at the last minute. This is vitally important. If I let the market come to me, I can print money. I'm pretty good at doing that. I'm far from perfect, but I'm pretty good at doing that with the core methodology, because I don't want to look like an idiot. I only want to show you the best stuff, which has forced me to take only the best stuff. I'll start getting emails after a couple of weeks of no recommendations, do all my market analysis, show you my hit list, or whatever we call it, the Landry list and all that. But then I'll say, there's nothing to be done, so let's not do anything. That's what I did today, by the way. And people start getting a little anxious, but I've learned that I'm better off letting the market come to me. So with the core methodology, I do that. With anything else, I'm looking at all these screens, and then I'm firing off trades. And I took some futures home. That's what you might have heard earlier. Knock on wood, looks like it's okay. Futures up 6 points. That would be maybe one of my away problems. Now, let the market come to you. Sometimes it means a lot of waiting. The waiting is the hardest part, said Tom Petty. Doing nothing is harder than it looks, Kim Lambert. And there's a lot of more quotes on waiting that I often write and talk about. But anyway, hyperactivity, recreational trading out of boredom, all these things can get you into a lot of trouble.